Everyone loves an underdog. Just when the odds get tight and you know you can't go on anymore, the opponents are so much stronger than you, you hit that 9th Cassiopeia for a 3-star and boom, you do well. Just kidding, you're probably gonna win, but let's further explore that in the video. Hey everyone, and welcome to another ProGuides TFT video. Today, we're gonna be talking about patch 10.17's underrated and undervalued comps, and how you can make use of them to climb. Make sure to play these comps as they are quite strong and really uncontested. As with every comps list, getting the comp will not guarantee you first place, but it will give you a high enough chance for a top 4 finish, netting you that sweet, sweet LP. These comps are flying under the radar, and by playing uncontested, you have much higher chances of hitting the designer version of the comp, able to utilize its full power. Don't forget though that positioning, items, and scouting are still your most important tools in this game, working together with your comp in order to give you that shiny first place. In this video, we'll talk about each comp, a general playstyle guide, look at items they use and their positioning. This patch did not change much from the previous, so what was under the radar before remains so. Some of the buffs did help the comp we are going to be talking about, especially a certain snaky girl. Let's see what we got. Before we dive in, I just want to let you guys know that we have a Discord community and a new subreddit that is growing really fast. We have you to thank for that, and we want to continue building our community and helping you be a part of it. Make sure you check the link in the description below. With all that said, let's dive right into our most underrated comp for 10.17, and it is Dark Stars. Those otherworldly creatures are still around, contrary to popular belief. The difficulty is getting to their win condition, not unlike old cybernetics before Vayne, albeit with a worse mid-game. Let's see how we can remedy that though. Dark Stars can be played in two ways. You either play them from the beginning, or you slowly transition into them by playing a couple of their units and augmenting their classes, like Infiltrator or Vanguard. To do the first option, you usually have an early Shaco from a box and add a Mordekaiser and a Nocturne, giving you a Dark Star start. For the second option, you don't focus on Dark Stars, but on the supporting units they will need, like Snipers, Vanguards, and Infiltrators, and itemize the ones you're going to replace with your Dark Star units. For example, you would have a board that looks like this, and itemize the Zed with Shaco items or the Poppy with frontline items. Jarvan is an option too, but after all his nerfs, he is not as great an itemization target as before. Following that, when you get your Jhin and Shaco, you can move on to your 4 Dark Star state. Often, this is the state with which you will have to get to level 9, so get comfortable. Dark Stars is a rush to level 9 comp, so it's important to win or lose streak for maximum amounts of gold. The reason for the need to go 9 is that Xerath 2-star is your win condition. If you can itemize your Xerath and 2-star him, there's a real chance of you winning the lobby. You should level as fast as possible, but do try to avoid huge losses. Dark Stars are a volatile comp, and you can sometimes lose rounds to positioning or bad fight RNG. As such, you need an HP cushion as large as you can make it. Keep that in mind, and those RNG losses won't hurt you as much. Positioning for Dark Stars is really important. As a comp with relatively low frontline, where you actually want stuff to die quickly, your carries will always be rather vulnerable. As such, you need to protect them by moving them around as much as possible. At the same time, your offensive Shaco positioning needs to be on point. Make sure you watch your positioning and scouting videos to get interesting tips and tricks on how to improve those skills. The comp should be positioned like this as a default, but make sure you adapt to your lobby or you will lose rounds you should be winning. This is a level 9 comp, so we're showing the final form, as without level 9, the comp is definitely weaker. Items. The itemization for this comp is really flexible. Dark Stars can make something out of most components. Your priority, weirdly enough, is Belt on the first carousel to try to get any Belt item, with a preference for Warmogs on Jarvan. With it, J4 will give you the early health that you need to survive until you find your units. From then onwards, your main goal is to find Guardian Angel and Bloodthirster for Shaco, be it in carousel or what you pray for at PvE rounds. What do you make out of tiers? Well, Shojin or Blue Buff for Karma is quite good, and a really good scaling option for the late game Xerath. Bows are good for a Last Whisper on Jhin or an RFC on Shaco, though the latter messes with his targeting a bit, so I wouldn't make it. Rod should always be Deathcap for Xerath or Gwynsu's if you can't find a second one. Gloves can be made into Infinity Edge for Shaco or Jhin, Last Whisper, or even Thief's Gloves for Jhin or Fizz. Remember that since this comp plays Infiltrators, Frozen Heart is insane on any of them. It's a great third item for Shaco, or it can serve as Fizz's soul item. Getting it from a late game carousel to disrupt your opponents is a really viable strategy, as all Dark Stars need to burst down their enemies is a bit of time and some dead allies. To recap, your item priority is Belt at first carousel, then Guardian Angel, then Bloodthirster, both for Shaco, then it's a free market for whatever you can get and complete. Whee! My favorite comp name is actually in a list. You heard right, not many people are playing Vanguard and Mystic at the moment. The comp struggled against Mech, but with its decreasing popularity, it's actually really solid to play. Combined with the fact that Cassiopeia 3 is a legitimate win condition now, the comp is criminally underrated. Starting with playstyle, it hasn't changed at all. You still go for 6 or 4 Vanguards, so remember to keep a Leona and a Poppy around to have that option. Play any early Vanguards you get and either Cassio straight up or TF/Ari to carry your items. Your main itemization targets are Jace and Cassio, with a priority on Cassio items, of course. Now that Cassio 3-star is your definitive win condition, staying at level 7 and rolling is a good strategy, especially if the lobby does not need 4 Mystics badly. Getting Jace 3-starred will not hurt at all either, but Cassio takes priority every time. Once you actually go to level 8, there's a really nice trick you can play around with, depending on the damage opposing comps deal, and since you're most likely in the late game with a couple of people dead, you can try to determine your next opponent with more accuracy. Then, using that knowledge, you can switch between 6 Vanguards, 2 Mystics, and 4 Vanguard, 4 Mystics to best counter your opponent's damage type. It's a more advanced playstyle, but I'm sure you can do it. Positioning with this comp is fairly straightforward, as it's a front-to-back comp. The only caveat is Cassiopeia's short range, which is why you usually want to build RFC to increase it and make her safer. It looks something like this in its default form. Any switches you make mainly involve moving from one side to another or accounting for Zephyrs, Blitzes, and Shrouds. Mind you, you're totally okay with Cassio being shrouded, since she will instacast anyway, barely missing a beat. If you add the 6 Vanguards, you can alter the positions to something resembling this. Notice that we took out Karma, losing Darkstar, but that's fine, since Soraka is a ridiculous unit that synergizes really well with slow damage taken, like 6 Vanguards do. If you have RFC on Cassio, you can put her further back and add the Leona on top of her in order to avoid infiltrators a bit like this. Looking at items needed for this comp, they are the same as they used to be in this order of priority. Blue buff, then Morello, then Rapid Fire Cannon for Cassio, Jace likes Ionic Spark and defensive items like Guardian Angel, Bramble, and Dragon Claw. The rest of the team can use any spare items, with a priority of mana items to Thresh or Janna if you go level 9. That's it for Metal Gear Snake. Make sure you try it out. We barely see it on ladder anymore, even though it does decently well. Be careful of Blade Masters though, they will be your bane. Saving a Zephyr for the Master Yi can often win you the round. This comp, even though strong due to people playing it wrong, is flying a bit under the radar right now. Pay close attention and you will be able to wreck opponents with Kog'Maw's power. The trick is to know when to play this comp and just refuse to go into it if some parameters are not met. This is a reroll comp. As such, gold is extremely important, so let's talk about the early game the most. There are 2 goals in the early game: maintain a streak to build our economy and collect your Kog'Maws and 1-cost units. As we're not leveling up early, it is almost impossible to guarantee a win streak, so our goal is to guarantee a loss streak. If you're at 3 losses out of 3 in the first 3 rounds, it is crucial that you ensure you lose the next rounds before Crumbz. Going into Crumbz with a 5 streak gives us so much more gold than not doing so, and taking bad losses in stage 2 is absolutely worth it, with no exceptions. Ideally, we lose the rounds taking the least amount of HP possible. Scout the opponents you haven't faced yet and make sure you are weaker than all of them. Do whatever it takes. If you have to frontline your ranged units and backline your melee units because there are players in the lobby that are ridiculously weak, then do it. This comp is fairly weak in stage 2, so galaxies that focus on strength in stage 2, like Plunder Planet, are really bad for us. In the mid game, you will focus on getting your units 3-starred in this order: Kog'Maw, Illaoi, Graves, Nocturne. If you can't find many Graves, just forego them and play Blitz and Ezreal for Chrono. At level 5, you want to be playing 4 Battlecast, 2 Blasters, and you add Karma for Mystic at level 6, or Blitz for Chrono and Brawler if you don't play Graves and have Ezreal instead. The rest of the game plan revolves around leveling and finding Urgot. You can find him in the 4th stage carousel as well, or make a Battlecast armor. On a Blaster, proccing it through the multi-shots is much better. Always make a Battlecast armor if you get the chance. Protect your Cog as much as possible. He is not too vulnerable to damage over time, as he heals a bunch when he drops below 50%, but you want him to be above that 50% most of the time to deal damage. Unless you have items on Victor or an Ionic on Illaoi, he will be most of your damage, so be careful. The comp should look like this, with some extra items depending on the lobby. You generally want to keep that Soraka in there, but you are versatile with the rest. If you don't 3-star Graves, you can switch in Ezreal and Blitzcrank for that Chrono Blaster Brawler combo. Red buff is really important on Kog'Maw for this, and so is Ionic Spark for Illaoi. Shroud is a really strong item for her too, but not a must build. Static Shiv is really good on Cog as a second item, as it allows him to start with an ult and scales a bit better into the late game. Due to how it works now, picking up units that have some CC like Gnar is a bonus since he deals a bit more damage to them. The third item for either can be a bit fluid, though Giant Slayer is good for Cog and so is Warmogs or Bramble Vest for Alawi. Other items should go on Victor and Urgot depending on what you get, of course. If you don't tunnel vision into playing this comp and play it when the stars align, you are going to do well. Here are some indicators of when to play it or not. Trade Sector Galaxy is really good. Red Buff or Shiv start. Lots of Battlecast units early, plus at least one Kog'Maw item. Don't play it when, as we said, Plunder Planet. When you see Contest, it's really tough to 3-star Kog'Maw when contested, and not finding Urgot can lose you the game. That's it for this video. We will be uploading every week on Wednesday and Sunday. Thanks so much for watching, and make sure you check out our TFT content on YouTube and our high elo coaches on ProGuides.com. If you have any feedback for us, comment below and we will be happy to read what you have to say. Now get out there and farm some LP using the comps you saw here today.